Oftentimes in Madden, games are won and lost on the small things. It could be something as minuscule as dropping a spy on the field, or changing a blitz angle to a contain to make a blitz work, or changing a zone drop. Oftentimes it's something so surface level as labbing an area of the game that your opponent doesn't lab, or maybe they labbed it and you haven't. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and do something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about depth chart on special teams and how to optimize your roster to get advantages in the areas that 9 out of 10 players truthfully don't lab. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Hard time all season covering kicks. It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no.
What is up, guys? Zay from the Zay Around YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of your special teams, and we're going to be talking about depth chart in particular. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to be kicking this ball off here and going through the depth chart positions and what you need to know about your depth chart, so that way you can optimize it in a game, potentially force a few more turnovers, or make sure that you don't have any liabilities on your kick coverage team. Obviously in Madden Ultimate Team, this is something that is really big for you guys. So I want to go in and take a look at an instant replay here and go through all of the positions on the kick team as well as the kick coverage team. So let's go ahead and get started here. The two most important positions on your field are your gunners. These are going to be the outside most players on your special teams. They are in fact going to be CB4 on the left. And if we were to go all the way to the other side of this formation, we'll be talking about CB number 3. Now you'll notice that I've done something here on the right side. I've actually subbed in Jamal Adams at this spot. And the reason that you want to do this is because if you guys have big hitting safeties that have some speed on your team, you are definitely going to want to go into your main depth chart and make those changes. So you'll see here that I have Jamal Adams at CB3. You can put your starting safeties at CB3 and CB4 once you're in the game, or truthfully, if you guys really want to, I know it's tough for some of you that run theme teams, you can actually change your depth chart and have both of your safeties. If you've got, say, Quandre Diggs, if we were to pretend that he was a good hitting safety, you can actually start those players at CB3 and CB4, which brings up the question for some of you, I'm certain, doesn't putting them at CB3 and CB4 mean that they're going to see the field when you call nickel and dollar or nickel and dime type sets? And the answer to that question is no. In fact, this CB depth chart has nothing to do with who's going to line up in the slot when you call nickel and dime packages. In fact, this position on your depth chart, which is known as slot corner, is going to be your nickel and dime back. So if you have Umadi as your number 3 or your number 1 SLCB, any formation that is nickel is going to place him in that spot. If you call dime, it's going to bring in DJ Reed Jr. onto the field. So in fact, once the game started, if you want to use a pause and put in some of your bigger hitting faster safeties at CB3 and CB4, they will not enter the game when you call nickel and dime sets, so long as they aren't listed on the depth chart in the slot cornerback position. So that is a huge thing that you can do immediately to make your gunners be dangerous. Now, why is that important? That's important because a lot of players like to kick the ball off to the up men in the special teams, which are going to be oftentimes your fullback number 1 and your kick returner number 2. And a lot of times those players are players that have a little bit less carry. If you're thinking about a blocking fullback, like say Kyle Juszczyk, or a blocking tight end or blocking fullback like Patrick Ricard, they might be good blockers, but they're not necessarily great with the ball in their hand. And if you think about it, if you were to have a safety that were to have enforcer or deflator on this, there's nothing stopping you from doing a little pooch kick like this and sending your gunners down the field to allow you to be able to get those big hits. Now, a lot of times those changes don't take place in depth chart until the second play. So I'm going to go ahead and kick the ball again here. And now this time we might say, let's go ahead and do a little short kick to the left side. So we're going to kick it to that kick returner number 2, knowing that we've got the potential for our gunner on the outside, which is actually going to be Jamal Adams, to potentially come down and make that play. Now, I clicked a few players off of him. We're going to get into those other positions here right now. So those two outside players, they're really key for this. I would recommend when you go into your play call menu, taking a look at kick left and kick right. If you've got a hitter on that left side of your kick coverage team, meaning Jamal Adams as CB3, you might choose kickoff left, just to make sure that he's kind of getting down there to be the first player to go get that return man that you're kicking short to, and vice versa. If you have a good hitter at CB4, you want to make sure that you're doing kickoff right to make sure that you've got him going down there and making first contact. Now let's go ahead and go through the other positions here on your team. This position right here is going to be your free safety number 2. This is particularly great because we've typically taken our free safety 1 and our strong safety 1 and put them at CBs 3 and 4. So this particular position, free safety 2, is something that is also valuable. Again, kind of consider these guys to be the guys on the outside that are getting down the field quick in coverage, oftentimes one of the first 1 or 2 players to make contact with a kick return player. So this is gonna, again, wanna be a guy that's got good speed, good acceleration, good tackling, good hit power. Again, if you want to have multiple enforcers and deflators on your field to help force more fumbles, I would encourage having a guy at this spot that can do that job. Now that is on the right, or technically left if you're looking at the kickoff team from the kickoff return team's perspective. This is on the right side of the kickoff team. So this is a good spot to kick to because you can have 2 hitters flying down the field together to make this work. Now on the other side, what we're going to go ahead and look at is the second man from the outside in, which is going to be your wide receiver number 5. This player, again, pretty tough to get hit power on the field. So this is going to be a guy that you're going to want speed. You probably want to have as much speed as possible. Just let him get down there and try to make a hit on somebody. Oftentimes, if he hits the ball carrier, his tackle rating is going to be so low, you're looking at a broken tackle, which is fine if you've got somebody with a little bit of bang outside to follow up and clean up that broken tackle. So it's not necessarily a bad strategy to kick it off to this side. Just understand that this guy is probably not going to be somebody that's going to make a tackle for you in this regard. Now, continue to go outside to in. We're going to be looking right here at left outside linebacker number 2. So again, this is another depth chart position for you. If you guys don't play this guy on your team in an actual game, make sure it's a thumper, somebody that has got good hit power. Just let him come down to the field and make some plays. Big time run stopper, tackler type guys. You don't want them to be super slow, but make sure that they have, you have a thumper right here. You don't want a pass coverage linebacker that's a soft tackler at this spot. Have another guy with hit power. Again, going to the inside, this guy right here is strong safety number 2. So again, this is another opportunity for you guys to get big hit power in this position. A lot of you guys probably are rocking Sean Taylors and Ed Reeds and Ronnie Lotts and Brian Dawkins, and the list goes on and on. There's so many safeties in this game. You want to make sure you got somebody that can fly down the field and make a tackle. So again, speed, hit power. Again, you're noticing a trend. You want to have speed and hit power on your special teams as much as you possibly can. This player right here is going to be middle linebacker number 2. Again, same drill as left outside linebacker number 2, speed and hit power. Oftentimes, this is going to be a guy that is somebody that does see your field a little bit. So if you've got Devin White or somebody like that on your team, great player to put at this spot. Now, on the other side, this guy is right outside linebacker number 2. So again, you want to make sure that you have as much kick power or hit power as possible on this to go down and make a play. This is your tight end number 2. So again, chances are you're looking at somebody that's not a great tackler. You just want to have somebody that can get down the field. Speed here is paramount, kind of similar to having wide receivers 5 on the other side. Get somebody down the field that can go and make a tackle. If they break it, you're going to have hit power around them to help clean it up. Again, moving inside, this is going to be fullback number 1. This is going to be a guy that does have good impact blocks. So this is a good candidate. You want a blocking fullback here. This is a guy that's going to be able to fly down, use his impact block rating to bust up some of those lead blockers for the kick return man. Not typically going to be a guy that's going to make a ton of plays for you. Fullbacks are not really the fastest players on the field, but they are very, very important. You don't want them getting blown up by whoever's blocking them. So make sure that you guys have somebody here that can kind of lay some lumber. You're going to be stuck with a fullback at this spot. Make sure it's somebody that can make a play. And of course, as I've already mentioned, this is free safety number 2. So there you guys have it. You guys can now take a look at the kick return team with all of their positions labeled. I would recommend taking a screenshot for your own reference, but this is how I would set up my depth chart for my kickoff team. Now let's go ahead and talk about the kick return team. There have been changes to the depth chart that EA used to use. So for any of you guys out there that are using some older kick return depth charts, there have been some updates to this position, not necessarily too much. Basically, the same players are on the field, they're just in slightly different positions, but let's go ahead and go over them nonetheless. So from the kick return team's perspective, this would be the right side outside guy up front. From the kickoff team's perspective, this is the left guy. This is going to be your strong safety number 2. So again, that's going to be a really, really key component to your kick return team. You're looking on the kick return team for a rating that is known as impact block. Again, you'll notice that throughout the game, defensive players have high impact block ratings. This rating is basically your ability to either apply a block with a full head of steam in the open field on somebody, or stand your ground when blocked by somebody with a full head of steam. So a lot of times you'll see a linebacker with like 90 impact block versus a fullback with 85 impact block on a lead run on an actual offensive snap. This rating is also used in the open field on kick returns. So this is going to end up being your strong safety number 2. Now, as we take a look here at these 2 positions that we're about to break down, these positions have basically changed a little bit. We are going to have Chaz Surratt, who is your right outside linebacker number 2. And then you're going to also have basically 2 tight ends. So this is going to be Conklin, and this is going to end up being Ellefson. These are going to be your tight ends, I think 3 and 4. It's also going to depend on your depth chart. A lot of teams don't carry 2 fullbacks. We're about to show you some fullbacks here on the other side. So of note, you need to make sure that you've got a right outside linebacker number 2 on that side with good impact block, and then obviously 2 tight ends. So these are depth chart tight ends. They need to have good impact block. The higher the impact block, the better the block is going to be for your kick returner. Now moving to the other side, looking at this player, this is middle linebacker number 2. So again, impact block. Then we're going to look right here. We're going to have a fullback, and we're also going to have a tight end. Right here, they are trying to squeeze in more fullbacks in this position. This player right here is going to end up being your outside linebacker, left outside linebacker number 2. And then this player is technically your fullback number 2. Now, again, as I mentioned, most teams do not have a second fullback on their depth chart. If you are a player that only carries 1 fullback, the next tight end possible will apply at this position. So keep that in mind. And then the outside most player on this is going to end up being your CB number 3. So again, if you guys like to put a safety at CB3 for kickoffs, this player is going to end up being there. This could be the Jamal Adams for you. Again, you're looking at impact block. So you want players that have really good impact block across the board. So basically the way that you need to look at this is going to end up being your CB3, your safety 2, which you could have 2 safeties at those spots. You're going to have your backup left, right, and middle linebackers, your backup fullback, and your backup tight ends at these positions. So impact block is really, really important for all of these positions. Now we go ahead and go to the back 3. This is going to be fullback number 1. Everybody's known in Madden over the years that this player is fullback number 1. This is the main player that gets pooch kicked to in the event that they are trying to play for a short kickoff return and or a turnover opportunity. If I were you guys, I would consider putting a fullback here that has good carry, or making sure that you sub in a running back once the game starts at fullback number 1. Most of you guys probably don't run a ton of I-form personnel anyways. So if you guys have a true fullback that you want to play in those spots, you could go ahead and bumper sub them on current gen, or press the Y button and sub them on next gen. Again, just be aware that this is a guy that is a liability if the ball is in his hands. A lot of fullbacks will fumble because they don't have high carry ratings, but they do have his high impact block. So that's the trade-off. They're a really, really good blocker for the back player, but they're not a great ball carrier themselves. This player over here, this is kick return man number 2. So this is a guy that if I were you, I would consider, this is the player that is least kicked to on the special teams unit. If I were you guys, I would make sure that you have somebody here that also is a good blocker, because the 2 guys that see the ball most are your true kickoff return guy, which is right here, and obviously your fullback that gets pooch kicked too. So these are the 2 players that really need to be able to return. I would say, honestly, this guy right here needs to be able to return the ball and block, and this guy is purely just a return guy. If they pooch kick it, it is what it is. But there you guys have it. Basically a bunch of tight ends, bunch of backup fullbacks, and your backup linebackers left, right, and middle. You want impact block at those spots. And then of course back here, this is where your return guys go. This guy, the back guy. And then obviously right here, I would consider putting in another decent blocker at this position for your depth chart. So again, I'm going to put this figure up on the screen so you guys can see the exact positions for all of these guys on your depth chart. You guys can make those adjustments accordingly. I hope this video was beneficial for you guys. If you guys liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, drop those below here. Make sure you guys subscribe here to the channel. We upload Monday through Friday in the late mornings or early afternoon. And also make sure you guys check out my strategy website, gridirongameplans.gg. Again, $9.95 per month unlocks the entire website. You can opt out at any time. Content is flowing. Definitely make sure you guys are checking out that defense on the website. It is getting spicy. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.